All right, good evening. I'm Michelle Abramo, the president of the Seminole Historical Society. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome you to the Seminole Historical Museum. At this time, if you all wouldn't mind standing, we're going to face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I would like to introduce our board this evening. We are a little half-staffed tonight. I think we wore everybody out with the open house. Those are the ones that aren't here. They're trying to tell us, hey, don't forget us. But the ones that are here in the museum tonight are Celeste Horn, Eva Jones, Lou LeGrand, Betsy McBride, Marilyn Money, and Jimmy Vines. So if you have a moment and you have any questions about the museum or the Historical Society after we're done this evening, please stop by and chat with any of us. We would love to hear your comments or any suggestions. There is sign-up sheets going around for refreshments and helpers and guides in the museum. Don't forget to thank the people that brought our treats tonight. And any gift, any treat is appreciated. So, you know, it can be something just as easy as some cookies that you can either make them at home, or, you know, Publix. Or, you know, we've had some warm quiches here not too long ago, or fruits and vegetables. But anything of that manner, we are just tickled to have treats, and I know everybody likes to have something when we get done. So if you wouldn't mind, please sign up for those. I was asked by a board member this past week to remind everybody about the items that we sell in the gift store. So in case you do not know, we do have Campbell family cookbooks and Caladisi cookbooks that are in the gift shop. They are only $10 each. We also have books written by Jim Schnur, Mac Perry, and Bob Stanton, all at various prices. We have note cards portraying the Seminole homes and businesses that were drawn by Dennis McBride. Those examples are down our hallway here, and we sell the note cards singular or in groups of 5. Historical Society pencils, Seminole bumper stickers. I know, I keep telling everybody because I had to convince the board that I really had to have these. SEM, and it says Seminole, SEM for Seminole, Florida. And those are bumper stickers like you see now on cars everywhere, like for Treasure Island, like for St. Augustine, Jacksonville Beach. So you got to have one for SEM for Seminole. And then, of course, we've got our t-shirts. These have been around for a while. They have the log cabin on them. We have been having them on sale for a long, long time, and we're thinking that we'd like to update a little bit, but we really want to move out what we have, so we're selling these for $5, and we've got them in small, medium, large, and extra large. There's some in this natural color, and then there's some that are white. So please stop by to see the ladies in the gift shop. Buy a t-shirt for $5. You can't get anything more reasonably priced than that. And you can advertise your local historical society. Our open house was this past Saturday. Did anybody participate in Art in the Park and the open house here at the museum? Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a great event. We worked together with the City of Seminole for Art in the Park, and so that we could advertise together. Did you see those big signs that we had out that were open, the ones that were on the fences in the front and back? We'd like to thank Extreme Signage for those. They donated those to us. And I'll tell you, on Saturdays, we'll probably be having those big ones out again, because when you rode by the park, you could see those from any direction. So thank you, Extreme Signage, for doing that for us. For all of the board, the members, volunteers that helped out on that event, thank you very, very much. We could not have done it with all of you. It was a huge success in the museum. I'm sure it was for Art in the Park also, but it was a really great way for us to open our doors to the community, remind them that we're here. We had wonderful children's activities out front, opportunities for getting your picture taken, book signage in the building here, and a lot of people coming through here. So we want to thank Sandy Holloway, who actually is at a Lightning game tonight. So go Lightning. But she was our chairperson for this. She outdid herself. And she did a phenomenal job organizing it, so we want to thank Sandy. And of course, Extreme Signage. If you did not make it to our open house, you missed one big announcement. We are selling tickets for our next event in the museum. This is a fundraiser we know that you will enjoy. It is here in the museum. It's called A Night in the Museum. It's going to be Friday, May 13th from 7 to 9. It's only a couple hours. With the purchase of a ticket, you will be supporting your community and the museum. You'll enjoy 2 glasses of wine, a variety of sweets, and live music in our backyard from a Seminole bluegrass band, Gypsy Wind. And I know you all know who that is. And they are going to do a nice performance for us for a couple hours out back. We're going to have twinkle lights. It's going to be a beautiful evening. There is no rain date. If it rains, we're going to just all be inside the museum. So the museum will be open, dimmer lights, but we're going to be out back. It's not going to be too hot. It should be a nice evening, and we want you to purchase tickets. The tickets are $15 now. They'll be $20 at the door, so a little incentive to buy them ahead of time. Buy a couple extra ones, include a friend, a couple friends, but it's going to be a nice evening, and it's a nice fundraiser for our museum. So we are tickled that the sponsor of this event is Lake Seminole Square. Any of you remember we did a garden tour at Sandy Holloway's house? I know there's some garden ladies here, and they remember that. Lake Seminole Square was one of our major sponsors, well, the major sponsor for that. So they are doing the sponsoring of this again. They're going to be providing us with all the sweet treats. So there's going to be, like I said, for the purchase of a ticket for $15, 2 glasses of wine, a nice plate of treats, sweet treats, and then, of course, our bluegrass band, Gypsy Wind. So we hope that you participate. And this is what I always say every time we get together. We really do appreciate the support that has been given to the museum and our Historical Society. Remember, the Historical Society is responsible for this building and its contents. It is only by the love of our volunteers and members that we have gotten this far. Right now, the only thing that sustains us is our memberships, which is our annual dues and donations. We are volunteers, so please, when we pass the basket or we ask at the door, please be generous. Did everyone enjoy the Pinellas Beekeepers last month? Yeah. That was great. It was really cool that Jimmy Johnson, he's the president of the Pinellas Beekeepers, came, and he brought some following with him, and those kids were darling. They had the answers to all the questions he was asking us. We had our own beehive here, and they were selling honey. We learned a lot. He could have gone on forever and ever. Just a reminder, St. Pete College has a beehives. And I don't know how often it is. I think it's once a month. They put out signs on 102nd Avenue and says that they are available if anybody wants to come and see their beehives at a particular time on Saturday mornings. And they will teach you how to become a beekeeper in your own backyard. So something to think about. The gentleman that was from the Pinellas Beekeepers Association, he rents his bees out, if anybody remembers that. I mean, he takes them to other areas like where there's blueberry fields, and he'll rent them and they'll stay there for a while. He delivers them at night, and in the morning, when the sun comes up, those bees come out like a big twirl of a hurricane or a tornado, and it's like a major GPS. They figure out where they are, how far they can go, and where the hives are, and boom, they're gone. And they're pollinating those blueberry bushes and bringing back to make honey and helping the blueberry farmers. So that's happening all over the country with local beekeepers. So tonight we have a fairly new resident to Seminole, which we're very excited about. Our own city manager has been on the job for almost a year now, and we are really very interested in learning more about her, how this latest opportunity is working out for her, and what's happening in the city of Seminole. So if you would please help me welcome Toney-Deal, Seminole City's mayor.
Well, she said that last week the speaker could have gone on and on and on, and I'm not going to scare you because I'm sure you don't want me to go on and on and on. So I will try to do like one of my former mayors and city council members used to tell people, you remember your 3 B's when you get up to speak. Be brief, be specific, and be seated. So I'm going to plan on sticking to the rules that he taught me at a very young point in my career. I'm famous for quotes, and I'm always looking for new and good quotes to use and to share with various groups I speak with. And And out of everything I say, maybe that'll be the one thing that you'll take with you and that will resonate. So I'd like to open with a quote before I start making my presentation, because I think it's applicable to the Historical Society, it's applicable to the forward thinking of our elected officials in Seminole, and it's by Anthony Albanese, Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Short-term thinking is the greatest enemy of good government. So let's just think about that. Short-term thinking is the greatest enemy of good government. The city of Seminole is not lacking in long-term thinking. Our city council, every meeting, we discuss not how it affects the now, but how will it affect the future. And that says a lot, because it's all adults serving there, and they've lived a long and prosperous life, and hopefully will live a much longer and prosperous life, but they're thinking about the future. The decisions they make, and the decisions they make, truly do affect our future. It affects tomorrow, the next day, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now. We're very blessed in Seminole to have a form of government called the council manager form of government. And anytime I speak to a group, and especially a group like the Historical Society, I think it's important to talk a little bit about the history of the council manager form of government. Now, not just because Seminole was wise enough to choose this form of government, or because I am a city manager in this form of government, it is truly the best form of government. The council manager form of government operates like a Fortune 500 company. Their models are pretty good. And if you think about it, in a Fortune 500 company, who really owns the company is the stockholders. Well, in Seminole, our stockholders are our residents. The stockholders elect a board of directors in a Fortune 500 company. In Seminole, our citizens elect the city council, and they're our board of directors. In a Fortune 500 company, the board of directors hire a CEO. In Seminole, the city council hires a city manager. And that city manager runs a day-to-day operation following the policy that the council, like the CEO, follows the policy of the board of your Fortune 500 company. So it's not like somebody just got up and dreamed this new form of government. They followed the model that was tried and true in successful businesses throughout this country and throughout the world. The council manager form of government was born out of what was called the U.S. Progressive Reform Movement. It was the turn of the 20th century that this happened. And it was designed to combat corruption and unethical activity in local government, because it promoted effective management with transparency, responsiveness, and accountability. And those are the three things you want in government, I can assure you. Since its establishment, the council manager form of government is the most popular structure of local government in the United States. Now then, for a little bit of trivia for the history buffs in here, in 1908, I'm going to give you the name of 4 cities. What city do you think was recognized to have hired the first city manager? And I'm going to give you 4, and then I want to hear what you think. Boston, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, Staunton, Virginia, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, Staunton, Virginia. Not a major metropolitan area in the mind of some people, but they were the first. And then what was the first to have the council manager form of government in 1912? It's interesting that in 1908, Staunton, Virginia had the first city manager, but it wasn't until 1912 that this city had the first council manager form of government. Sumter, South Carolina, Phoenix, Arizona, St. Augustine, Florida, or Baltimore, Maryland. Okay. Anybody else? Sumter, South Carolina. They were the first. So the South had the first council manager form of government. And the final question, this is the one for the big money. And Councilor Quinn's going to make me good for it. you get to spend 5 minutes uninterrupted time with council. Yeah, right? How many people in the United States live in communities that operate under the council manager form of government? 11 million, 78 million, 92 million are not enough. Not enough, that's right. Actually, there are 78 million, but we believe a city manager is not enough. So that is a little trivia, a little historic perspective, and I think that was appropriate in a gathering of this nature. Everybody always wants to know, and I've got Mr. Petty there is going to keep me straight about taxes, is people ask, where do my tax dollars go? And that's a good question, and it's something that as a citizen who pays taxes and property taxes, and you get those kind little letters from people in the county every year, where do they go? And a lot of times, because we like to think that your city government is the government you're closest to, that a lot of people think most of that tax bill goes to the city. Well, in Seminole's case, that's not true. Of the money that when you write your check to the tax collector in Pinellas County, 42% of that check goes to the schools. So whether you have children or not, 42% goes to the schools. 34% of that check goes to Pinellas County for various county functions. And of that check, 13% goes to the city of Seminole. So for every dollar you write, 13 cents goes to the city of Seminole if you live in the city limits of Seminole. So there is a misconception sometimes that the city's overtaxing you, etc., but there are many levels of government. We are followed by 5% of the Juvenile Welfare Board, 4% Transit Authority, 2% Southwest Water Management District. So that in sum is where your tax dollars do go when you strike that check. One thing that our city council and staff is very proud of is our millage history. And millage is the amount of money you spend per $1,000 assessment of your property, whether it's a business property or a residential property. And one of my IT people didn't know that you had the PowerPoint capability, or I would be able to show you this, but you can see it real easily. If you look at the city of Seminole's history, with this being 09 and this being current, you can see what's happened to your millage rate in Seminole. Now, how many cities, counties, or taxing authorities can hold up a chart and you really don't need to look at the years? You know it's gone down, 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 and stayed down. And that's the summary of this particular chart. So we're very proud of that, and you can see since the year 2014 that the taxes have stayed low. But you say, okay, well, they're lower than they were, but how do they compare to everybody else? Well, of the non-coastal cities, now when you have properties on the ocean, and some of you may, when you write that check, you can appreciate how much you really do pay in local taxes, so they can charge you less millage to provide all the municipal services that your community provides. But out of all the cities in this county, Seminole, as at this point, we are in the lower third of taxes. And above us, that have lower taxes, and you'll know why. Bel Air Shore, North Reddington Beach, Indian Shores, Reddington Beach, Reddington Shores, Indian Rocks Beach, Bel Air Beach, Madeira Beach. And those are the only cities that have a lower tax rate than us. And you heard the word beach or shores in every single name that I read to you. So there is a reason. So your elected officials have done a yeoman's job as a non-coastal community, which has less property value simply by the nature of where the location is, to assure that you get what we believe the best municipal services in Pinellas County for a very nominal amount. When Seminole gets the money through the taxes, 53% of our budget is spent on fire operation. And you think, wow, that's a lot. But bear in mind, a proportionate amount of revenue also is from fire, because we are a major fire provider in Pinellas County, and our fire district is much, much larger than our city limits. And the county, through an assessment of those in unincorporated area, then pays us money. And basically 70% of our fire operation, because 70% of our fire service is in unincorporated area, 70% of that operation is paid for through Pinellas County. We're very happy also to have a wonderful public library. How many of you have been in the library? Good answer. Because if you hadn't, I was going to make sure I take you by the hand and we leave here and go to the library and get you a library card. We have one of the most remarkable libraries I've ever seen, and I'm not saying that just because I work in Seminole. I really wish I'd worked here longer so I could take some credit for it, but I can't. It is one of the most remarkable libraries. The partnership with St. Pete College is a model. We have people from Sarasota and other parts of the county coming over to look at our partnership and talk with the provost and talk with Michael Bryan, our library director, about the partnership because they see the results. And I know that I have never lived in a community, whether it's a large metropolitan area or whether it's a medium-sized city, that has a library open 7 days a week. If you've never been to the library on Sunday, it is an experience. I encourage you to do so because I have 2 teenagers that sometimes wait to the last minute, I can't imagine that, to get a project done and they need something from the library. And I am so thankful that I live in a community where the library is still open, and especially when it's a reading assignment and there are books in their locker at school, and you pray that there's a duplicate copy at the library. So you call ahead, have them pull it from the shelf. They don't even know who I am. I just call and say, here's the number, and I'm coming in to pick it up, and it's sitting at the front desk when I get in, and it's nice to kind of covertly do that and see the quality service we get. But being a mother with students and just being a citizen, I appreciate that level of service that our library does give. Yes, sir.
One of the things that we discovered a couple of years ago is a program they have there called Geezers, Gizmos, and Geeks, which is absolutely fabulous, where you end up with a one-on-one tutorial with a young student from the high school who's getting community service points for doing that. And we came from a community of 750,000, and they had 2 hours a month. Whereas this program, they will sit and work with you all those 7 days of the week and set it up, and it's just an amazing program.
Right, and I will tell you, and I'm glad you mentioned that program because I'm not mentioning the programs in the library because I'll leave 99% of them out because there are so many programs that if you ever need a wonderful speaker, have Michael Bryan here because he can take up your whole hour. No, I'm not going to take up an hour. I saw this panic on his face. He can take up the entire speaking time just telling you about the special programs the library has, and it's geared for all ages. We're not just a children's library. We love our children and we have an area dedicated, but we are very attentive to all of the generational opportunities that we have to offer. And we do partnerships with students and seniors, which the students learn from the seniors and the seniors learn from the students. And especially when it comes to technology, I think we all are learning from our students. So I mentioned our budget, and we are ending our fiscal year, and we are not printing too many more of these. If anybody would like one, I brought several with me. You could leave one here maybe if people are browsing. And basically we have fast facts on the back. It says no millage increase since 1996 because it started going down at that point. And we've never decreased city services. And that is so important. Through the recessionary times, everybody avoids calling it a recession. I can tell you as the city manager, it was a recession. But during that time, the city of Seminole never decreased services. Nobody in this room had less library hours, less recreation opportunities. Our population in Seminole now is over 18,000. The latest University of Florida Bureau of Economic Research updates the census every year. So we're growing, not thousands and thousands, but we are a fairly fast growing when you add in the Bay Pines area, the Courtney, the developments along Seminole Boulevard. After the recession, we are starting to see more development happening in the residential area. But the big question, and of course I've done a lot of talking, you're thinking, when is she going to talk about the mall? We've heard all this other stuff. We want to know about the mall. Well, I've got several interesting things to tell you about items that are going on in the community. And I would like to start by telling you a little bit about the mall. This is a conceptual layout of the mall, and it's fairly true to how they are developing at this time. To orient you, this is Bell's. This is the store that is open. Did anybody go to Bell's the day it opened? God bless you. I was there too. I did not dare try to get in the line that was out there. I did the ribbon cutting. I waited till everybody got in, and then I went in. And I did end up divesting myself for some money because my daughter needed a new pair of tennis shoes, and they were on sale, but they still were expensive. But it was a brand she got, and she's very hard to fit. And there are several stores along this way that may interest you. This store at the very end, when I told my children that was coming, they were excited. And the only reason I know about a store called Ulta is because I have teenagers. Men, there are some things in there for you. But ladies, this is makeup overload. Don't go in there to buy mascara or blush because you're going to have 10 zillion choices. I don't know where they start. I guess they watch YouTube and they watch the people promoting various products, but I have never seen so much makeup in one building in my entire life of every size, shape, and color and application, from the brushes to the actual material. But Ulta is extremely popular with the teenagers on up to people probably at my age. They start losing some interest because we're set in our ways and we already know the makeup we like, and we're still wearing the same thing all the time because we now know what fits us the best. But it is kind of an interesting place just to browse. This is where the Steinmart is going, and I know most of you are familiar with the Steinmart because that's a repeat. This is going to be a Kirkland's, and of course I like Kirkland's because I like to browse, but the only thing I like better than Kirkland's is, I'm kind of doing this upside down, is this right here, Home Goods.
Yes.
I love Home Goods. That is, when I heard the Home Goods was going in there, I was just sold. And then next to Home Goods is then one of these strips is a store called Five Below. And you know, we ask what's a Five Below, and that everything in there is really $5 and below. And so it is evidently very popular with all ages, especially they say with the millennials. So I can't wait to see what they have for $5 and below, but I'll be there to browse. I'll save the cinema for last because there'll probably be some questions on that. LA Fitness is relocating. They will be here. And in this slot here is Earth Fair. And I'm glad I have never been in an Earth Fair, but you just had an endorsement here from the side. And Mr. Petty's endorsing it. Okay, and we have another endorsement. So we have 3 people that have huge smiles. It is a grocery store. And it is evidently very, very popular now, very healthy foods. I understand, tell me if I'm wrong because I've not been in one, but that's how it's being explained. And there's a lot of excitement when I speak to groups and tell them that we have an Earth Fair coming. We have had back and forth whether or not Chipotle was coming, and it appears that we will have one. They are in permitting at this time, but of course until they pull the permit, we can't say for sure. We do have a Pollo Tropical that is permitted. We have a bank in one of the front parcels that is in for permit now. And so we have a Petco and a Sports Authority. And I've been asked several times about the Sports Authority, and all the indications is they have the green light to proceed. The property where the chamber used to be, the 2-story building that's been torn down, is when we got the plan, it said Applebee's, and they're on again, off again, on again, off again, just simply because that's the nature of signing in retail spaces. But they are going ahead, the mall developer is, and planning that site for a restaurant. There is also going to be a Pele, which is a PF chain. I'm not familiar with the Pele, but it's the fast food kind of version of that. And they are talking right now to a couple of restaurants that are of an Ale House, A-L-E, Ale House. I have a southern accent, so I need to make sure it's an Ale House. And so that may be forthcoming. But the latest announcement has been where the cinema or theater is. And that has been the subject of a city council workshop for the developer to come in and show them some of the schematics and what's very important, the hardscape that goes in front of it, the landscaping, the pedestrian walkways, the benches, the playground, the water feature, a little water orb. And so they are trying very hard to make this distinguished but blend in at the same time. This will, it is Studio Movie Grill, is a company based out of Texas, and they serve beer, wine, wings, hamburgers, nachos. You order it, they will have a restaurant actually in the building, and you will take it to your seat, and the seats are built to accommodate you with food and drink. They will not have service during the movie, but you can take your drink in and eat it. They have all first runs, so you're not getting the second run of any movies. They do run your typical Disney, so they have the family element. And they're also going to do some special features, and especially in the summer, I know that Becky, our Parks and Rec director, is excited because it will be a venue where they will probably do some field trips from summer rec to the air, because it's like dollar movies during the day, and those are normally your second run movies of Disney, so that they encourage kids to come in. And of course, the kids come in, parents are buying popcorn and Coke and all that. It's really a brilliant marketing scheme, but a lot of theaters are doing that, and so Becky is very excited about getting our Parks and Rec involved with some of their programming. And so this is certainly exciting. In talking to the developer, you know, there's so much excitement when a theater's announced. They think, well, when's it going to open? And the developer said it will be in the first quarter of next year if everything goes quickly. So I don't want anybody to get their hopes too high, but we will anxiously await that, because they just have a lot of corporate things that they have to do with the developer. And I'll be honest with you, and Mr. Petty's back there grinning, he knows why most people wait till the end of the year, because if they could occupy it in December, they'll save a lot of money if they occupy it in January, because they don't have to pay the year taxes in the arrears. If you get a certificate of occupancy December 31st, you pay a year's worth of taxes. If you get it January 1st, you don't. So if you're right there on the borderline, any county constitutional officer will tell you that that is the practice, and they're not doing anything wrong. They're just savvy business people. And quite frankly, they would have to really, really, really expedite this project to even get near to a certificate of occupancy by December. So it really isn't realistic until for them to open. I really believe they'll probably open by April next year, but that's just my guess, and don't take that to the bank, because I could be wrong. Two other of the many exciting things going on in our fair city is that this is a sketch, and we don't have any pretty colored renderings of this, but this is what's called Waterfront Park. It's the park next to Home Depot. The road separates it. Right now it's a flat vacant piece of land, and the City Council has generously allocated funds for Phase 1, and we have identified funds for Phase 2, and we're almost going to be running these so near each other they will almost seem simultaneous. One will stop when the other starts. We don't plan on stopping. But last night we have once again amended this. This is Park, and this comes down into the Waterfront Park. Home Depot is right over here. And this will be an area to honor our veterans, sometime Veterans Memorial, and I know Otto and the American Legion and other veterans organizations are going to be providing input and assisting us, and maybe even fundraising for something to really honor our veterans, because we are a very blessed area to have so many veterans that live here, and there are probably very few areas in this entire state that doesn't have a military base that has so many veterans. And this park is going to be an all-access playground. And what this is for children of all capabilities to be able to play, and their parents to easily be able to accommodate them using the equipment. The playground equipment is very expensive. One little piece could be as much as $100,000. So we are very conscientious about how we are piecing together the playground equipment, and we have had some nonprofit organizations come forward and say that they may adopt a piece of equipment and try to raise money for it. But the really, really, really great news is that this year we got a $100,000 grant from the state of Florida. And you can thank our city council for lobbying our legislators, and you can thank Senator Jeff Brandes and Representative Larry Ahern, and also Senator Tom Lee, who was a colleague of Leslie Waters in the day, who was in the appropriations position to make sure that it stayed in the budget. They actually, we don't like to call it pork when we get it, but it was. And we're very blessed. That shows that we have significant influence in this area because they picked 4 projects that were not scheduled for funding in anybody's budget. And when they went to conference, we were one of those 4 that got $100,000, and we were not slated to do that. Now, if it had been another city, that would have been awful. But because it was us, it's wonderful. So we were past due. We think the project was well worth it. And in 2 council meetings, both Senator Brandis and Representative Ahern will be attending our city council meeting to give us the, it'll be a check, but it's not one we can cash. It'll be about this size. But it would be nice so we can acknowledge them and thank them for our assistance. So because those 2 gentlemen are out and about in our community, when you see them, please tell them how thankful you are that we got it, because we're applying for another one next year. So that's real important. We want to give them full credit so that we can certainly be considered. And probably one of the just neatest news, and I brag about our city council, but things just don't happen by accident. On occasion they do, but there's normally something that caused something to happen, and it's not an accident. Well, you're looking at the rendering of a hotel. It's a Holiday Inn Express. It will go where Walmart is located on Bay Pines Boulevard. And as you can see, it is a 5-story facility, over 200 rooms. And we are so thrilled. It is going to be the Mediterranean revival look. It will match the area. So there will be architectural statement. It's not going to be a big box just stuck in there. And it is going to be part of that master plan. And why did they go there, and how did it happen so fast, you might ask? Well, I will tell you how. When the city council was evaluating Walmart and where you have Starbucks and Village Inn and Texas Roadhouse, they said, we need a hotel in Seminole. So we're going to do a developer agreement with you, and we're going to give you some concessions about shared parking and setback and various other things that's going to make this project nice. But you've got to do 2 things. You've got to identify a space for another fire station in case we ever need one out there. I mean, we don't have the money for it now, but who knows, in 10 or 20 years you can't go back and make more land. So we need this much land, not much because it would be a substation for a fire department. And we need you to set aside an area for a real hotel that a Holiday Inn, a Hampton Inn, somebody like that would locate, because Seminole, the city limits of Seminole, does not have a hotel, period. The city council says we want a hotel. So we're going to give you all these concessions that will allow you, Mr. Developer and Mrs. Developer, to make more money, quite honestly. The economy was low, but that's good news for a developer because costs are low. So if they had that money in the bank, they could do a lot more with it. So they said, okay, we'll set aside this much land for a hotel. So when they went through the planning process, it was anticipated a hotel would go there. So they calculated the parking, they calculated the drainage, they calculated the ingress and egress. Everything was already planned for a hotel. All you needed was one to sit on that spot. The spot was ready, and they called that turnkey. It was turnkey ready. So when a couple of hotel chains came to meet with us recently, what entitlements are with this property? We said, well, you have parking, drainage. This is all you got to do is get us a site plan, and we can give you a permit for the site plan, and then you get us construction drawings and you pull your building permit. Okay. How quickly? Well, however quickly it takes you to get here and us to review it. So that really, I think, motivated Holiday Inn Express. They have now pulled the building permits for this building. So it's not in the tire kicking stage. It is in, they have already paid about $60,000 for all the permits they needed, but they could do it. So that saved their corporation probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, because in their business, time is money. As soon as they buy something, and they have to go through the planning process, and they have to go through the permitting process. And I will tell you, we have a parcel of land in unincorporated Pinellas County that we're going to put a double-wide trailer on for a temporary fire station 32 while we raise and build a new one. It took 18 months to get it permitted in unincorporated Pinellas County. 18 months to get a double-wide temporary housing for our fire department. So now, if you're a developer coming in and I tell you, you bring me your building plans and you can pull a permit tomorrow, or as soon as we can review them, 18 months, a few weeks, time is money. And so it was a very quick process. I mean, it happened, they're here kicking tires, and within 2 weeks, we were able to tell the city council this is a go. So this is a very exciting time for our community. You're going to start seeing earth moving in this area. And so we're ready for the hotel. Councilor Quinn, what
Yeah,
about
I
that?
just wanted to make sure that people knew that the waterfront park is the old Jesse Landon park. Everybody knows that. And the other thing was, the reason that the beach communities have a lower tax rate, everybody should know that why. If you took your house that you live in now and moved it to the beach, it would be worth 4 times what it's worth now, because that's where they make up all that. The property's $1 million somewhere over there. Anyway,
And just before I close, I want to tell you just something about me
yes?
that you won't know. No, Councilor Quinn knows because I've revealed this.
Go ahead.
But I love the Historical Society, and I have a good reason. I grew up in the small town of Fort Meade, Florida. How many people know where Fort Meade, Florida is? Wow, this is the most people that's ever known where Fort Meade is. Fort Meade was about 4,000 when I grew up, and it's probably not much more now. A lot of good people come from Fort Meade, and the museum in Fort Meade is housed in a 2-story building that was the first schoolhouse in Fort Meade. But what you probably don't know about the first schoolhouse in Fort Meade is that my great-great-grandfather, John Franklin Marsh, oversaw the construction of that personally, and he and his sister Lula, who was my great-great-aunt, were the first school teachers in Fort Meade. And so when you walk into the museum, there's a big picture of my great-great-grandfather, John Franklin Marsh, and it says, this picture was donated by the Toney family, which is my maiden name, and Toney-Deal. But John Franklin Marsh has a story too, and if you ever read a book by Cantor Brown about Fort Meade and Peace River area, he was also not only a teacher, but he was a newspaper writer. And prohibition was being discussed, and he did an article against prohibition. And he wasn't thought very kindly of anymore in the community because he was for drinking. So he lost advertisements and people quit buying his paper. And so he moved over to the coast and started a newspaper. And I've got to do the research because somewhere in the Anna Maria Island area called the Beacon. And there are so many beacons along the coast, and I've got to find out, and I found this out from Cantor Brown, who is on faculty at FSU and grew up in Fort Meade like I did, and he shared that story about my great-great-grandfather. So I am very humbled to know that the history of Seminole will be preserved, just like in my small hometown, because just this past year I went back for a Heritage Day in my hometown, and when I signed the book, I signed John Franklin's great-great-great-granddaughter. So, and then my daughter was a great-great-great-granddaughter, so that when people look at the future, they know that his family is still visiting the building that he oversaw its construction for the first schoolhouse. So, in closing, well, first of all, are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Is any plans on down here at Seminole Boulevard and Park where that gas station is sitting at?
Well, I can answer that question. There are some city council members that would like to have some plans for it that would include a bulldozer. But no, right now, there isn't, because that is such a prime piece of property. It's exciting, its location. The property owner has a wonderful opportunity, and we are very hopeful that in the near future, especially as our city continues to have projects like this in the mall, that the value will get such that you would probably have to raise the building that's there now and build something new, but it is just calling for a new purpose. And across the street, as you know, Starbucks is now open, and CVS. And if you look catty corner to that, it's really exciting, at least to those of us who do a lot of redevelopment, where it was called Deals. How do I forget that? Deals, like my name, over closed, and Bell's Outlet's going there. But because they were adding on to the building, there are times you could go and look through the top board and you can see all the way through the building. They are enlarging that, and because they are, they're having to change items in the parking lot and add landscaping and separation. So just today I went by there, and if you look, you can see a lot of work, not just going on in that building, but shopping center improvements. So that's going to add to those corners. And I think that eventually, we're so excited, and, when I say bulldozer, I say that tongue in cheek because that means redevelopment. That property is I think, will be redeveloped. I don't think the building there would serve a purpose because it would be undervalued if they did. And so in the near future, I hope that the property owner meets with a developer and they're both really, really happy. So you don't own the property, do you? Because I'll talk to you later. We'll work something out right here, right now, and we'll figure out what we can do with it. But if any of you are related to the property owner, we're motivated to assist in any way we can to get that corner redeveloped. So, yes, ma'am.
In the park, are they going to have canoe launchings and whatever?
That's the most important thing that I didn't mention. You get an A. I was just seeing if somebody bring that up. And you pass. Yes, ma'am. One of the primary reasons is, as you know, the lagoon here is very scenic, and one of our former city council members actually lives back here, and he was telling me the other day that he has put a kayak in, and he said his words exactly, it is breathtaking when you get back up in there. And there will be what's called a soft canoe launch. There will be a canoe wash area. We'll have potable water so you can wash down your canoe. You have to be careful of tides because it is tidal, and you could get out and have to walk in. But we will be accommodating a kayak canoe launch. It is not for motorized boats. It will be the more passive, environmentally friendly, and we've already received our permit from the Southwest Florida Water Management District to do the work of nominal mangrove removal. And nothing we're doing is going to exert jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers, thank goodness, because it'd be easier to permit with Pinellas County than it would be with them. So, yes, sir.
The county water tower and that property there, can you do anything on that?
Well, they are not moving forward on doing anything about taking it down right now, but they're not going to do anything to improve it. One of the things that was discussed last night, and it's timely, and if you want to go online with the county and send a suggestion, the BP oil settlement is being discussed and possible items to sell it. And the county's represented us, one of the dilemmas they have is that it was purchased in their utility side, which is an enterprise fund, and it's not a general fund asset. So to get rid of it, they'd have to sell it in the utility side. So one of the suggestions that we're going to advance to the county to consider is use some of that BP oil settlement for the county to buy it from the utilities to give it to us. So we're getting creative with that. And so, and other things that we're going to suggest, because if they're going to start looking at some regional impact to spend, they're going to take the lion's share of that money and probably do what they call a legacy program, whether it's an endowment of the arts countywide or something. And we understand that they're going to do that. But they may carve out some small pieces, 100,000 here, 100,000 there, for the cities who were not recipients of the BP oil money like the coastal cities were. And we're also going to be putting in their mind, we have an all-access playground that's going to be very expensive. This isn't just Seminole residents. It's going to be our prideful park as a Seminole community, but it is open to all residents. So wherever you live, and it will be attract people from a regional nature. So we believe that also would be a worthy thing for the BP money. But so we're going to ask and see where that goes. We're trying to get creative in how maybe we can do that with not burdening our taxpayers, perhaps with that. But that is my son was almost in tears when I told him they were talking about tearing it down, because my children's first memory of Seminole, when I came over here to visit the city, when I found out I was a semifinalist, we came over on a weekend and we went to the library and we visited around. That was the thing my children remembered, was the water tower. And my son said, "Mom, that is so cool. Look how they have an octopus over that water tower." Now, when you leave tonight, you look at that and you tell me, but my son knew what he was talking about. And so they've always said the water tower with the octopus, because it has the 8 legs around it and it looks like 2 eyes wherever you were looking at it from. So they were heartbroken from a historical perspective that we would lose that. So, you know, it was an interesting story that a 15 and a 13-year-old would share with you about the water tower. Yes, sir.
If the museum board of directors can help with that, let us know, okay? With the commissioners if we need to.
Our vice mayor is sitting right here, and that assistance would, I think, be very welcome. So you see him, because I think the Historical Society does have a role to play in that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the more people that they hear from, the better off they are.
That's what I'm thinking.
We didn't offer it, they offered it to us, and we didn't tell them we wanted it for nothing. I offered them $1 for it.
He's a big spender.
Because it's a piece of property that's so restricted that anybody else that gets it can't build it. The restrictions we have on it are so strong. I think they may start leaning towards the fact that we can keep it in the public interest. We can keep it as a park or something else.
Right, and it's our entrance to City Park, it's our entrance to the museum. So there are many reasons that if we could do it in a cost-effective manner, that I think everybody would be happy. And somebody was asking about road.
Big old House Grill behind Wendy's off of Park Boulevard.
There are, well, first of all, that whole shopping center redevelopment is an example of what happens when you start expanding. They have done a wonderful job. If you haven't been back up in there, it is night and day different from what it was. Now, the Roadhouse is available for rent or sale, as the sign shows, but there are some challenges with that location. The building has been vacant a lot. There are some structural integrity questions probably at this point. I am not aware of anybody that's seriously looking at that property to locate there, and they may eventually, they could take it down, expand their parking lot, or make a parking lot there and then move an out parcel closer to Seminole Boulevard. But right now, the redevelopment didn't include doing anything with that particular parcel, nor were they required to do that. They were required to upgrade the parking lot. So, yes, ma'am.
The Porpoise property on Seminole Boulevard.
Right, the Porpoise Pub property, Screwy Louie's, that burned to the ground, that is an unincorporated Seminole. Now, our fire department responded to that call because it's in our fire district, but the county will, that is ironic that the Fireplace Restaurant and Screwy Louie's both had a fire about a year and a half apart. They both are on Seminole Boulevard. They both are in Pinellas County, not Seminole. So I did notice last week, or actually a couple of days ago when I went by, they are starting to demolish part of that building, where they're saving some walls just for, to use as an interior wall for old time's sake or what, or whether they're just leveling it, I don't know. It's a very nice piece of property, and we would not be the permitting entity when it comes time for it to be rebuilt, hopefully. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Oh, a little bit about my background, okay. Well, y'all know that I'm from Fort Meade. I'm not going to test you on that. I grew up in the big city. I am a graduate of the University of Florida. I'm glad to see a few smiles in the room. I received my bachelor's degree at the University of Florida in political science, and I have a master's degree in political science with a certification in public administration. I was one of the very fortunate ones, and much to my parents' delight, I graduated and walked through the ceremony on a Saturday morning at the University of Florida and got my master's degree, my diploma. I left, we went home, packed the car on Sunday with all of my belongings between my dad's van and my car. We were able to put everything that I owned in those two vehicles and drove to West Palm Beach and unloaded an apartment that I had rented. And I started work Monday morning at 8 o'clock. So I graduated on Saturday, moved on Sunday, started work on 8 o'clock Monday morning for the city of West Palm. I was a management intern in the city manager's office. It was a very exciting time to be in West Palm. During my tenure there, I'd been there about a year and a half, and our senior assistant city manager had cancer and was out, and I took over a lot of her duties, so much more responsibility than a typical intern would have. My city manager treated me like an assistant. One of my primary jobs was dealing with our city council and keeping them happy, and that was probably the toughest job in the building. But I did all their correspondence. If they had a complaint, I was their go-to person, and about half of the department heads would contact me about agenda items and backup and budget items. So when a job opened in Boynton Beach to be the assistant to the city manager, I applied, got that job. While I was there, I was promoted to assistant city manager. Boynton Beach is a community of 50,000 plus, and I was there for about 3.5 years, and then I had the opportunity to be the deputy city manager in North Miami Beach, which is in Dade County. Now, I'm a Central Florida girl, and I kept going south, going south, going south, and I said, I really don't like the Keys, and so I think I've gone just about as far south as I need to go. I love my time in North Miami Beach, and a job opened up in Polk County, where I grown up. The other side of the county, Polk County is larger than the state of Delaware or Rhode Island, so it's a large county. So on the other side of Polk County was a city called Haines City, a city of, at that time, about 14,000, between 14 and 15,000. And I, along with 240 other people, applied for the job. Not much chance I'm going to get that one. And then I kept making the cuts. And I hadn't told my parents I'd applied. And then all of a sudden, I find out I'm in the top 17. Now they got 17, I don't know, and I was just shocked. But it wasn't in the paper yet, so I didn't have to tell mom and dad. And then I get the news that I'm in the top 5. And so when I went home that weekend to Fort Meade and told my parents, and told my mom and dad, I said, well, there's something I need to tell you. And my dad said, well, if you're going to tell us you're finalist for the city manager job in Haines City, we already know. And I said, well, how do you know? And he said, well, I was at Barnett's, it was a gas station, Ray Barnett owned a gas station in town. And he had been in the doctor's office in Winter Haven and picked up a Winter Haven news chief and carried the story. And so he read it, and he said, Frank, I read in the newspaper this morning that your daughter's a finalist for the city manager in Haines City. And I said, oh, she is. And so he beat me by about 12 hours of telling my dad and my mother. So they were thrilled. And long story short, I was hired, and I was the city manager of Haines City for 19.5 years. And the city went from between 14 and 15,000 to over 20,000. We were the 3rd largest city in Polk County, and we grew in size over 2,000 acres since 2000. And our budget was a $40 million budget. We were a full-service city, water, sewer, police, fire, etc. So I was very blessed to be in the community for that length of time. But even more blessed that when the city manager, Frank Edmonds, who I had served on the board of directors of the Florida City County Management Association, retired, that I was able to apply for Seminole, and I was blessed to be able to come and work for this great community. I have served as president of the Florida City County Managers Association. I was the first female city manager to hold that post in 2000. And I held that post as president and had my first child in the same year, and I made a history that nobody else is going to do. So that actually made the news. So it's an exciting time, and we're just very, very glad to be here, and I'm blessed that the citizens of Seminole have elected the 7 members that they have that serve our city, and to many of you who serve on our various city committees. It just is a statement to our community. It's a statement to our community that you have citizens like yourself that put in your time for the various service organizations of my friends here for the American Legion, which I'm almost a 40-year member of the American Legion Auxiliary. My daughter's been a member since she was born. And, the Historical Society and all the groups. That's what makes a city a community. And so I'd rather say I'm from the community of Seminole instead of the city of Seminole. So I thank you very much. I'm going to stay around a little bit in case there are questions you didn't get to ask, and I'm much remiss because I did not introduce one of my bosses.
And don't forget that you mentioned that the 7 council members were elected by people. There's something important coming up in the
Oh, yeah, my birthday. Oh, you're not talking about my birthday, okay. Actually, my birthday is the end of hurricane season, November 30th. In November, we do have an election. We have 2 seats up and the mayor. So we have the mayor and 2 council members. Our vice mayor is one of those. And Vice Mayor Jim Quinn was on the council that hired me, and I will be forever indebted to you.
282 people applied for this job. It was narrowed down to 11, and was one of the 11. And through the process of elimination, we picked Ann. She was just like this during the interviews. 19 years, Haines City manager, So I think she was a great choice for us. And so Carolyn.
So to conclude, one of my famous quotes from John F. Kennedy, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future." I thank you very much, and God bless all.
And thank you very much. We were tickled to have you as our city manager, and we know this first year has probably been a very, I know it's only 8 months, but she's already blazing a trail for us, so thank you very much, Toney-Deal. To speak to Fred Petty about the water tower, we've paid homage to the water tower with one of our designs up in the ceiling here that Dennis and Betsy McBride did. That is the water tower here. And you can see the octopus legs, if that's what you're talking about. And actually, Tom Stovall, who's the artist for that, he lives in this community, or somewhere around in this community. He's been doing some substitute teaching. I work at Powder Elementary, and made a contact with him, and he will probably be one of our future speakers, because not only did he do our water tower, but he's done many other installations. I think one is Bob Lee's Tires down on 4th Street. He did the mural on the side of his building, and I'm sure there's more, but anyway, that's our tribute to the water tower. So thank you to the McBrides for building that for us, and thank you for that question, Mr. Petty. If there isn't anything else, we will be here for a little while to enjoy some refreshment. We're glad that you were here, and thank you, Councilman Quinn.
I'll be on all the time pretty soon.
Okay. No, we couldn't afford that. And certainly enjoy yourself, and please don't forget to ask about tickets on May 13th. It's going to be a great event. Thank you, and have a nice evening.